In this episode, the next 12 months is our topic. So we're going to go into plan and prepare for the next 12 months or the year ahead so that we can execute. And then, of course, we will assess and we will repeat the process.
Hello and welcome to the Remarkable CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to chiropractors who want to transform their job into a business so that they can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. With your hosts, Dr. Pete Camiolo and
Welcome
Dr.
back
Stephen
to another
Franson.
episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. I'm Dr. Pete Camiolo.
And I'm Dr. Stephen Franson.
And I hope you enjoyed part one of this two-part series, the last to now and now to next. This is part two. Hey, if you missed part one, the last to now, make sure you go back and listen to that. Make sure you download the tool that we've given you. It's called the Vision Mapping Framework or Toolkit. And that's going to help guide you through this exercise, this two-part exercise. This is a best practice, Dr. Stephen, that we deploy with our CEOs, with our coaching clients. We're giving you visibility into exactly how we approach the end of the year and move into the new year. And we're at the perfect time here at the end of 21 to get into that. I'm excited, Dr. Stephen, for what you're going to lay down here in this training today called the Now to Next. Dr. Stephen, give us a little insight on what we're going to be getting into today.
Yeah, this is a best practice. This is one of my favorite ways to end the year, is making sure that we are teeing up the next year to be super productive and effective. I want huge productivity out of the year, and I want to do it all in a remarkable way, right? So this is a way to pre-frame the year, set myself up, my team up, total clarity for what's to come in the year ahead. And I want to make sure that we can get every drop of juice out of 2022. And I want that for you as well. So take a peek behind the curtain, see how we handle this with our coaching clients. Like Dr. Pete said, just download the tool that we have here in the show notes down below. And if you need help with this, we're happy to jump on a call with you. So you'll see a link to our appointment calendar down there. Schedule a strategy session. If you want us to review what you've come up with or help you do this exercise, we're happy to come alongside you and join along. 2022 is going to be a great year. Take advantage of this opportunity to frame that up and hit 2022 going 100 miles an hour.
And remember, as the CEO, one of your first and most important objectives, if you look at the three objectives of the CEO, number one is vision casting. Number two is determining what's important now. And number three is determining what's important next. And I'll tell you what's important right now is what's important next. Enjoy this episode, and we'll see you on the other side.
Hey, Remarkables, it's Dr. Stephen Franson. Welcome to this two-part series. This is my end of year best practices as I do the assessment process, looking back at the year that has just passed as I plan and prepare for the year ahead. Of course, in our last video, we began where we're going to begin in this video, which is at the appear process, which is this is the remarkable practice manifestation formula that we use, right? So appear is an acronym for assess, plan, prepare, execute, assess, repeat. And we're so on purpose and on mission. We know we're in the business of saving lives, and when business is good, everybody wins. So we're going to act like it. We don't just hope and pray that our vision of success is going to manifest. We are going to get the work, right? So on our last video, on our last process, we looked at the year that has just passed, and we assessed the previous 12 months. In this video, we're going to be planning the next 12 months, right? So in this episode, the next 12 months is our topic. So we're going to go into plan and prepare for the next 12 months or the year ahead so that we can execute. And then, of course, we will assess and we will repeat the process. So we're going to start right where we started when we reviewed the year that has passed, and we're going to get back to vision story. Of course, as I stated, all things of significance, anything that's worthwhile always begins with a vision, right? So it always is important to start with a vision exercise that helps you get clarity so that you can, like Covey teaches, begin with the end in mind. We want to have a clear picture in your mind. Better yet, we want to have a motion picture in your mind. We want to have a movie. We want to be able to close our eyes and see exactly what does success look like. So we take that vision story that we can see in our minds, we can see with great clarity, and then we start capturing it in the written world. So this is where journaling comes in. where we start with an outline or bulleted notes, or we write paragraphically and freeform, and we play with our ideas. We write infographics, we draw chicken scratches and pictures, right? So whatever your style is, have fun with this. Let this be a creative process. I journal every day, have been for 25 years or more. And it's so fun to go back to look at my old journals and see what was going on in my mind. What was I thinking about? What was I vision casting at the time? And man, is it amazing to see how many of those things have come true. Man, what a blessing. What a way to manifest, if you're into the law of attraction, man, there's nothing like putting together a hard work game plan. So you can pen that out and say, this is what success looks like. This is my creative process. This is what I want to manifest. And journaling is a great place to capture that. We have a tool that we've included here in the show notes and also in the resources box for you, our vision story fillable PDF. It'll give you a place to capture those ideas and really start getting creative around this next 12 months ahead, right? So we go through this process of verbal storytelling, right? So when we talk about vision casting, it's where we take it from what's inside of our heads and we cast it and convey it so that we can get it into the heads of those people that we're going to need to recruit. In other words, our team members, right? So we're going to recruit them to help us manifest this vision. So we've got to be able to tell a story. We've got to be able to tell a story in a way where they can see what we see and they are compelled to help us create it. That's the verbal storytelling step or part of this process. And then we translate that story into objective measurables or metrics or key performance indicators, right? These are the benchmarks. These are the milestones along the journey. We want to make sure that we make this journey measurable so that we can slip and check ourselves and make sure that we're making progress towards our goals, right? So having those metrics and those goals laid out pulls your team forward, right? Lets them know what a win looks like. If you have A players, and I'm sure you do, A players demand metrics. They want to know exactly what does a win look like, and they want to have feedback, and they want it to be objective and measurable, right? So you got to make sure that you have your metrics in place, which implies, of course, that you've got your vital signs system in play, right? So having the vital signs system is the performance metrics tracking report system that we use in the Remarkable practice. This is where we track things like our regular daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual, month over month, quarter over quarter, year over year metrics and our goals, right? So I love Jim Collins's work on the BHAGs and the NHAGs, the big, hairy, audacious goals and the next happily achievable goals. I like to cast my 1 year goal out in front of me, call that the big, hairy, audacious goal. So in this exercise, as we're planning for this next year ahead, let's throw that goal out there 12 months. And we'll say, okay, so 12 months from now, based on my previous growth, based on the trajectory that we've been on in this last quarter, this last year, maybe last 2 years, taking into consideration any of the forces that would influence that trajectory. We've added a doctor, we've lost a doctor, we've lost an office manager, we've added an office manager, we've added a digital marketing expert, whatever those factors are, we take all those things into account and we make intelligent goals, right? We set intelligent and informed goals using our metrics, right? So we want to cast that big, hairy, audacious goal out there 12 months out, and then we want to back ourselves into it. In other words, we want to reverse engineer it. If that's where we want to be fourth quarter, where do we want to be in third quarter? Where do we want to be in second quarter? Where do we want to be at the end of first quarter, right? So those next happily achievable goals will be major milestones that you'll use as reference points as you move through this year, this next year ahead. You're going to want to be able to track, are we on track or off track, right? The only way to know if you're on track or off track is to set the track, right? You have to set the milestones.
Okay, let's take a quick break and talk about Chiro Matchmakers.
Chiro Matchmakers will help you find the right person for the job. If you're looking to hire the ideal chiropractic assistant, Chiro Matchmakers will help you find the specific person missing from your team so that you can get back to using your talents to serve more people. Or if you're looking to hire the ideal associate doctor, CMM can help. Chiro Matchmakers helps chiropractors like you find the ideal associate doctor to unlock your practice potential and get you the freedom that you desire. To learn more, go to chiromatchmakers.com.
And now let's jump right back into our conversation.
So if you're on track, of course, those is be noted as wins, and you'd want to be able to comment on what led to the win, what contributed to the victory, right? So why did we win? What behaviors did we do? What did we do and execute well, right? And then if we're off track, we want to learn from that. Why did we come up short? Okay, so why did we not reach our goals or hit our goals? And you want to unpack that and capture that information and say, what did we learn from this? Did we just do a poor job setting the goals? Was it a bad expectation? Did we not take into account certain factors? Or was it an execution issue? Or was there some other external force acting on this, right? So the third part of your vision story is use of the accountability chart. As we said in the last episode, in the last video, we talked about the accountability chart being an infographic that really represents such a critical part of your business, and that's your team, right? So I like to say your team is your business is your team, business building is team building. So the accountability chart is a critical component to this, right? The accountability chart just lays out how does our business function. And in the Remarkable Practice, we have the 7 primary functions of a chiropractic practice laid out. The owner, CEO, or visionary, which is most likely you, the office manager, the COO, the integrator, right? So they're the one that runs the business. So the CEO leads the business, the COO runs the business, and then the business is listed down below, the 5 primary functions of the business: attraction or marketing, conversion, sales, retention, operations, that's healthcare, team building, and then business office, right? So the back office, admin, paperwork, the money, etc. So those are the 5 primary functions of the business when it comes to your traditional chiropractic practice. And with an accountability chart, you look at the job descriptions, the responsibilities that have been organized under each one of these functions on the accountability chart, much like a position on a sports team. The responsibilities are organized in such a way that that person, that role, is accountable to those responsibilities. And then you put the person on that accountability chart that is best qualified to be the person to be accountable to, in other words, executing those behaviors. And this is where we want to make sure that we are using brutal facts, right? As we assess where are we now versus where do we want to be ultimately. So I will say, as CEOs, as leaders, as business owners, as clinic directors, we love brutal facts, right? So we want to know the truth. And the accountability chart is really where the rubber hits the ground as far as brutal facts go. Like right now, if you identify these as the 7 primary functions of your business, these are the 7 primary things that are happening in your practice. The question is who's doing it? Who owns it? Who's accountable to it? Put their name in there. Doc, you might note that your name is in too many spots. You might be in 5 or 6, or maybe there's another very busy person on your team that is in 4, 5, or 6 spots, right? But those are the brutal facts of where you are right now, right? And then what we're going to do is we're going to cast a vision out to the ultimate iteration of your business. As we now look forward, we want to say, where's this business going to be 3 to 5 years from now? I like a 3-year view of a business. I find that I get a lot of detail out of that. I have a lot of clarity around that, so I can make better decisions on a 3-year view. I like to say I have a 3-year view of my business and a 3-month action plan to get there, right? So I make my action plan with my eye on where do I want to be ultimately. Now, in this exercise, we're going to be looking forward and we're going to be planning for our next iteration of the business, right? So as we plan our next iteration, it's now to next. In other words, the business you want to build in the next 12 months. So as we look ahead to this next year, what is the business that you want to build over the next 12 months? The now to next exercise in this context is, where do we want to be 12 months from now as a business? Now, starting with your team, this is a great place to start, because it really starts to clarify for you exactly what changes need to be made to go from now to next. Very often, these changes are personnel changes. right? So you're bringing in another tech CA, or you're bringing it, or you've decided you're going to split the front desk to check in CA and check out CA. Maybe you're bringing in a new patient concierge. Maybe it's time to add a caregiver associate doctor. Maybe it's time to elevate your office manager to a COO, right? So these are the big changes that you would make. Very typically, these are personnel changes, right? So you want to indicate that on this, we've created a form for you, the big changes that you're going to make from now to next. So whether those are personnel changes or technology changes or physical plant changes, make a commitment to say, in order for us to go from where we are now to where we want to be 12 months from now, these are the 3, 4, 5 big changes that we're committing to making right now over the next 12 months. There's another exercise in there for you. There's a form for you that's a fillable PDF that you can use to capture the concepts of going from now to next 1 year out, now to next maybe 3 years out, and now to ultimately, which might be 5 to 10 years out. There's no wrong way to do this. This will give you a pathway to start capturing multiple iterations of your business looking forward. So I love to say that we all overestimate what we can do in a day, and we underestimate what we can do in a year, never mind 3 years, right? So have some fun with this, take a breath, and fill this thing out so that you can start casting that vision so that you can gain more clarity. And remember, clarity is king. Clarity will be your greatest accelerant. So wherever you lack clarity, it's going to slow you down. Listen, we'd all love to make this beautiful, rapid succession across the 4 seasons of the chiropractic career, from launch to build to scale to exit. We want to see this beautiful, smooth trajectory of just growth, bigger impact, bigger income. But the truth is there's going to be gaps along the way. This is a perfect exercise for you to start recognizing where some of those gaps are. So in the first stages of your career, that you might start running into the money gap, where it's you recognize, man, we need more new patients, but we have no money, so we don't do any marketing, so we don't have any new patients, so we end up with a gap there. Or maybe you get into a build gap where you have people that are starting care, but it's a weak start, so there's poor expectations and agreements, and it's a weak commitment, and they drop out of care, so you end up with replacements. More often than not, as you move into a more sophisticated level, into scale of your business, as you're trying to move from build to scale, very often it's personnel issues where, maybe you're having trouble finding A players, or you're starting B and C players, and there's, again, a poor match or poor onboarding or expectations and agreements or training, what have you, and you end up losing team players. So then you need to replace your team players, right? So you end up in that gap. Or maybe you're trying to find an associate doctor and you're looking for an A player, or you don't know whether you should bring in a caregiver or a business builder, and you really lack clarity or the skill sets around onboarding or training, equipping, and really mentoring an associate doctor, or you don't set up compensation properly, and they drop out, right? So guys, there's all kinds of gaps that people experience. Very often it's a personnel gap, right? So as you go through this exercise, you're going to understand when I say your team building is your business building, right? So your team is your business is your team. And it's such a big part of this going from now to next is making sure you're thinking about the 4 rights, right? Making sure that you get that right person in the right role, doing the right work the right way, right? So use the accountability grid that we've included for you. This is one of our most powerful tools, which is looking at the 15 primary functions of your business, identifying where are we optimized in our business. So I just go through this exercise and do two things. Put a grade on there from a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being genius, 1 being hopeless. How are we performing in each of these 15 primary functions of the business? And then I want you to go through the exercise of identifying who is accountable, who's the one person in a team that's accountable to that primary function of the business, right? So that will expose your business when you recognize either, no one's accountable, or more than one person's accountable, which means nobody's accountable, or you have the wrong person that's accountable, right? So wherever you see underperformance, use the accountability grid each year with the accountability chart to really audit your business and audit your team. And it'll inform you what kind of changes do you need to make going forward as you put together your now to next vision story using the now to next vision story exercise. What are the 3 to 5 big changes that you are committed to making so that you'll go and grow from now to next?
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Remarkable CEO Podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like this podcast, please subscribe, share with a friend, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, direct message us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Now go and be remarkable.